I know you did not come here by accident. I know you are busy, that your day has already taken something from you. Maybe your patience, maybe your hope, maybe your silence. But before you scroll away, before you decide this is just another voice in the noise, give me a moment. Not because I want something from you, but because there is something I need to ask you. And I would not ask it unless it mattered. I am standing at that quiet edge where certainty ends and truth begins. And I am looking at you. Not the idea of you, not the fantasy, but you, the woman listening right now. And before I say yes to anything, before I step forward, I need to know one thing that has been echoing in my chest longer than I admit. If this moment feels strangely personal, if it feels like I am speaking only to you, let that be okay. If this space feels gentle, take a breath and stay with me for a second longer. If my words touch something familiar inside you, tap the like button so I know you felt it too. Tell me where you are watching from and what time it is where you are right now. And if you feel safe here, share this with someone you love, someone who still believes in quiet, lasting love. I have built rockets that return from space, companies that people said were impossible, futures that existed only as sketches in my head. But love has always been the one thing I could not engineer. You cannot prototype it. You cannot brute force it. Love does not respond to intelligence alone. It responds to truth. And the older I get, the more I realize that love is not about being impressive. It is about being seen without armor. Tell me, when was the last time someone looked at you and did not try to fix you, rush you, or reshape you? When was the last time you felt chosen for who you are when the room is quiet and the lights are off? I am not talking to a young dream of love anymore. I am talking to a woman who has lived, a woman who knows that love is not butterflies forever. It is staying when the butterflies leave. You have loved before, or maybe you have waited longer than you ever expected. Maybe you gave your best years to someone who did not know how to hold them. Maybe you learned how to be strong because no one showed up when you needed softness. Tell me, did you become independent because you wanted to, or because you had no other choice? People assume that success makes love easier. It does not. It makes it lonelier because admiration is loud but intimacy whispers. I have been surrounded by people and still felt alone because being admired is not the same as being understood. And I wonder about you. Are you tired of being the strong one? Are you tired of carrying your own heart so carefully because you learned that not everyone deserves access to it? When you imagine love now, does it feel hopeful or does it feel risky? Before I say yes, I need to know if you believe that love at this stage of life can be quieter and deeper. Not dramatic, not performative, but steady. I need to know if you understand that love is choosing the same person on ordinary days. That passion is beautiful, but peace is sacred. Do you crave peace the way I do? Do you want a love where silence is not awkward, where sitting next to each other is enough, where nothing needs to be proven? I am not looking for perfection. I am looking for honesty, the kind that admits fear without turning it into distance, the kind that says I am here even when I do not have the right words. Tell me honestly, can you stay present when love asks you to be vulnerable again? Or does your past still pull you backward when something good tries to come close? I have learned that love is not about rescuing each other. It is about walking side by side, two complete lives choosing to align. I do not want to be your escape, and I do not want you to be mine. I want us to be each other's place of res. Does that idea feel comforting to you, or does it scare you a little? Sometimes the safest things feel the most unfamiliar. When I picture you, I do not see a perfect woman. I see someone real, someone who has laughed and cried and learned how to keep going. Someone who knows that love after experience is not naive, it is brave. Tell me, are you brave enough to believe again? Not blindly, but intentionally? Are you willing to let love be slow, intentional, and deeply human? Before I say yes, I need to know if you are ready for a love that does not rush, does not shout, does not compete with the world, a love that chooses presence over promises, a love that understands that time is the most valuable thing we can give each other. If I reach for your hand, metaphorically or otherwise, will you meet me there? Or will you hesitate because the past taught you to be careful? I am asking you this because I am not interested in almost love. I am not interested in chemistry that fades or tension that disappears. I want something rare, something earned, something that grows stronger because it is built on truth. And before I move any closer, before I open that door fully, I need to know if your heart is still open enough to walk through it with me. Even if you cannot see the whole path yet, I keep thinking about the way time changes the meaning of love. When we are younger, love feels like fire, loud, urgent, overwhelming. It feels like something that happens to us. Uh, Later, love feels like choice. It feels intentional. It feels like awareness. And that is the kind of love I'm standing in now. The kind that does not rush. The kind that pauses and asks questions before it commits its future to another soul. I am not afraid of loving you. I am afraid of loving the wrong way. I am afraid of building something beautiful on a misunderstanding. I imagine you sitting somewhere quiet, maybe alone, maybe with the world still moving around you, listening to a man who is not Lee in the room, but somehow speaking into your inner space. And I wonder what you feel when you hear words like commitment, presence, forever. Do they feel warm or heavy? Do they feel like safety or responsibility? Tell me, when you think about love lasting, does your heart relax or does it brace itself? I have learned that love is not about intensity. It is about consistency. It is not about grand gestures. It is about daily presence. It is not about promises. It is about patterns. And I need to know something about you. When life becomes ordinary, when the excitement fades into routine, do you still show up, or do you slowly disappear into distance and silence? Because real love lives in ordinary days. It lives in repetition. It lives in the quiet moments no one sees. I do not need you to impress me. I need you to be honest with me. I need to know how you handle disappointment, how you handle conflict, how you handle fear. Do you shut down, or do you stay present? Do you withdraw, or do you communicate? Do you build walls or do you build bridges? These things matter more than chemistry. They matter more than attraction. They matter more than words. Tell me something real. When you are hurt, do you isolate or do you reach out? When you feel overwhelmed, do you push people away or do you let them come closer? Love cannot survive in silence. It suffocates there, and I cannot build a future with someone who disappears when things get difficult. I need a woman who stays in the room emotionally, even when the conversation is uncomfortable. I am not asking for perfection. I am asking for presence. I am asking for emotional availability. I am asking for courage, because love after experience is not soft. It is strong. It is intentional. It is conscious. And I need to know if you are still open enough to grow with someone instead of protecting yourself from everyone. Sometimes I think about how many people carry love wounds they never healed. How many hearts learn to survive instead of connect? How many women learned independence so deeply that vulnerability feels unsafe? I wonder if you learned to be self-sufficient because you had to, not because you wanted to. I wonder if love taught you to be guarded instead of open. And I wonder if you still believe someone could meet you gently, not forcefully, not possessively, not desperately, but steadily. If I stand in front of you emotionally, without titles, without labels, without roles, just as a man who wants to know a woman's soul, would you feel safe enough to stand there too, or would your instinct be to protect yourself first? I do not judge either answer. I just need to know what is real, because love is not about merging identities. It is about aligning lives. It is about two people choosing each other while still being whole. I do not want to complete you. I want to walk with you. I do not want to rescue you. I want to respect you. I do not want to control your world. I want to share mine. Does that kind of love make sense to you? Does it feel right in your body when you hear it? I imagine quiet evenings, conversations that do not need an audience, laughter that is not for performance, silence that is not uncomfortable, presence that feels grounding. I imagine love that does not demand constant proof, love that does not test, love that does not manipulate, love that does not create fear. And I ask myself, would you recognize that kind of love if it stood in front of you? Or would you mistake it for boredom because it feels unfamiliar? Tell me, do you believe that love can feel safe and still be deep? Do you believe it can feel calm and still be passionate? Do you believe it can be steady and still be romantic? Or do you still associate love with chaos, intensity, and emotional turbulence? Before I move closer, before I open my heart any further, I need to know if you are capable of building something slow, something intentional, something real, not a fantasy, not a projection, not a story, a life. Two people choosing each other in reality, not imagination. Because I am not looking for someone to love the idea of me. I am looking for someone who can love the man, the human, the imperfect, the quiet, the complicated, the thoughtful, the tired, the hopeful, the vulnerable, all of it. And I wonder, can you love someone without trying to shape them into what you need them to be? Can you love someone without trying to fix them? Can you love someone while still letting them be themselves? Because that is the only kind of love that lasts. I am standing here emotionally, not moving forward, not stepping back, just waiting in the space between yes and uncertainty. And the only thing that will move me is truth, not attraction, not fantasy, not desire, truth. And the truth I need from you is not spoken yet. There is something people rarely talk about when it comes to love later in life. The way hope becomes quieter, not weaker, just quieter. It no longer shouts. It waits. It watches. It listens. And I think that is where you are right now. You would not be listening to me if some part of you had not kept that hope alive. Even after disappointment, even after loss, even after silence that lasted longer than it should have, you are here because you still believe love can be real, not perfect, not dramatic, but real. And I respect that more than you know. I want to ask you something gently. When you imagine being loved now, do you imagine being seen or being chosen? Because those are not always the same thing. Being chosen feels exciting. Being seen feels safe. And safety, real safety, is what allows love to deepen instead of burnout. Tell me, do you feel more drawn to excitement or to peace? And be honest with yourself, not with me. Your answer tells you more than it tells anyone else. I have spent years being misunderstood. People see ambition, intellect, intensity. They project strength onto me and forget that strength still needs softness. They forget that even the most driven man still wants to be understood without explanation. I wonder about you. Have people assumed you were stronger than you felt? Have they leaned on you without ever asking how heavy it was to carry everything alone? Have you ever wished someone would simply say, "You do not have to hold it all together right now"? Love is not about leaning endlessly. It is about balance, about knowing when to support and when to be supported. I need to know if you can allow yourself to receive care without guilt. Some people are so used to giving that receiving feels uncomfortable. Does it feel strange to imagine someone being attentive to your needs without you earning it first? Does it feel unfamiliar to imagine being loved simply because you exist? There is a difference between independence and isolation. Independence is strength. Isolation is survival. And many people confuse the two because isolation looks strong from the outside. I need to know if you have learned to live without love, or if you have learned to live despite wanting it, because those are two very different things. One closes the door, the other keeps it unlocked, just cautious. When conflict appears, and it always does, how do you respond? Do you see it as danger or as information? Do you shut down to protect yourself, or do you lean in to understand? I am not afraid of disagreement. I am afraid of silence that replaces honesty. Silence erodes connection faster than anger ever could. Can you talk when it is uncomfortable? Can you stay present when emotions rise instead of retreating? I do not want a love that requires guessing. I want clarity, not control, not interrogation, just openness. A willingness to say, "This is what I feel," even if it is messy. Especially if it is messy. Tell me, do you allow yourself to be messy with people, or have you learned to be composed at all costs? Because love cannot breathe in perfection. It breathes in truth. There is also something else I need to know. Can you let the past stay in the past? Not erased, not forgotten, but no longer steering the future. Some people bring old wounds into new rooms and wonder why the light feels different. Healing does not mean pretending nothing hurt. It means choosing not to bleed on those who did not cut you. Are you still bleeding, or have you learned how to tend to your wounds? I think about trust often. Trust is not blind belief. It is a decision to remain open, even when you cannot control the outcome. Trust says, "I will not punish you for what someone else did. I will let you be who you are." That takes courage. Do you still have that courage? Or has disappointment taught you to keep one foot out the door just in case? I am not asking you to promise anything. I am asking you to reflect, to listen to yourself while you listen to me. Because before I say yes, I need to know that you are not looking for love to fill a void, but to share a life. Love is not a solution. It is a partnership. It does not fix loneliness. It transforms it into companionship. When I imagine a future, I imagine conversations that stretch late into the night. I imagine laughter that comes easily. I imagine respect that does not waver when opinions differ. I imagine affection that feels natural, not performative. And I imagine a woman who knows who she is, who does not disappear to be loved, and does not dominate to feel safe. I wonder if that woman feels familiar to you when you hear these words. You do not need to change for love, you need to be present for it. And presence requires courage. The courage to stay, the courage to speak, the courage to feel, the courage to risk being known. Are you willing to be known even if it means being vulnerable again? Because I am not asking you to leap. I am asking you to stand with me for a moment longer in this quiet space where truth waits to be acknowledged. And before I take another step, before I open another door, I need to feel that you are standing there too. Not, I ding, not performing, just real. And there is still one feeling we have not named yet. One truth that sits just beneath the surface, waiting to be spoken. There is a quiet honesty that arrives when you stop pretending you are unaffected, when you stop telling yourself that you are fine just because you have learned how to function. I think you know what I mean. You wake up, you move through your day, you do what needs to be done, and from the outside, everything looks stable. But inside, there is a softer truth that rarely gets invited into the conversation. The truth that says, I still want to be loved in a way that feels safe. The truth that says, I still want to matter deeply to someone. The truth that says, I am tired of being strong all the time. I wonder if you have ever been told that wanting love at this stage is unrealistic or unnecessary or selfish. As if the heart has an expiration date, as if tenderness belongs only to youth. I do not believe that. I believe love matures the way people do. It becomes less dramatic and more intentional, less noisy and more meaningful. And I need to know if you still allow yourself to want it without shame, without apology. Tell me something. When you imagine being chosen now, do you imagine being pursued or being met? There is a difference. Pursuit can feel flattering, but being met feels grounding. Being met means someone sees your pace and walks beside you instead of pulling you forward or holding you back. Have you ever felt truly met by someone, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, or have you mostly adapted yourself to fit into someone else's rhythm? I am not interested in a love that requires shrinking. I am interested in a love that allows expansion where both people grow without leaving each other behind. That requires respect. It requires curiosity. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to listen without preparing a defense. Can you listen like that? Can you stay open even when what you hear challenges you? There is also the matter of time. Time is no longer something I take lightly. It is the most honest currency we have. How someone spends their time tells you what they value. I need to know if you value presence. Not constant attention, not obsession, but real presence. Being there emotionally, even when life is demanding. Being reachable, even when things are complicated. Being willing to prioritize connection, not just convenience. Have you ever been with someone who made you feel like an option instead of a priority? Someone who said the right things but was never fully available. That kind of love teaches you to lower your expectations just to avoid disappointment. I do not want that. I do not want you to feel like you have to accept less in order to keep someone. And I do not want to offer less either. Love should not feel like negotiation for scraps of attention. I also think about affection, not just physical affection, but emotional warmth. The small gestures that say, I see you, I am thinking about you, you matter to me. Some people are uncomfortable with tenderness because they were never shown how to give it safely. Does tenderness feel natural to you, or does it feel vulnerable in a way that makes you hesitate? Can you offer softness without fear that it will be taken for granted? I have learned that the deepest intimacy is not physical, it is emotional availability. It is being able to say, this is what I need, without fear of being dismissed. It is being able to say, this hurt me, without fear of being abandoned. It is being able to say, I care about you, without fear of losing control. Are those things you feel capable of now, or do they still feel risky? There is something powerful about two people who choose each other without urgency, without pressure, without the need to prove anything to the world. Just two people saying, I see you, and I am willing to show up. I am willing to learn you. I am willing to be patient with you. I am willing to stay when it would be easier to leave. Does that kind of commitment feel comforting to you, or does it feel heavy? I am asking all of this because before I say yes, I need to know that you are not running toward love out of fear of being alone, but moving toward it out of desire to share. Love built on fear collapses under pressure. Love built on choice strengthens with time. Which one are you ready for? I feel like we are standing very close now, close enough to sense each other's truth, close enough to feel what is unspoken. And there is one last question forming, one that matters more than all the others combined. A question about how you love when no one is watching, and how you stay when things stop being easy. And before I let myself ask it out loud, before I take that final emotional step, I need to know if you are ready to hear it. Before I say yes, there is one question that has stayed with me longer than all the others. It is not dramatic. It is not romantic in the way movies make romance look. It is quiet, almost uncomfortable because it requires honesty without decoration. And the truth is, I have asked myself this question many times before I ever imagined asking it to you. I want to know how you love when, well, of is no longer new. Not when it is exciting, not when it feels validating, not when it fills a silence or softens a lonely evening. I want to know how you love when love becomes familiar, when routines settle in, when life interrupts intimacy, when energy is lower and patience is tested, because that is where real love lives. Not in beginnings, but in continuations. I've seen people fall in love beautifully and leave quietly. I have seen passion without endurance and affection without responsibility. And I have learned that love is not revealed by how intensely someone feels, but by how consistently they stay. Tell me, when love becomes ordinary, do you still choose it, or do you start looking for something that feels like escape? There is a kind of devotion that does not announce itself. It shows up, it listens, it remembers, it adapts. It forgives without erasing boundaries. It stays curious instead of critical. That kind of love does not demand perfection. It asks for effort. Are you someone who can offer effort even when appreciation is not immediate? Even when things feel unbalanced for a moment? I am not asking if you are always kind. No one is. I am asking if you are self-aware, if you can notice when you are pulling away and choose to come back. If you can apologize without defending yourself. If you can admit when fear is speaking louder than truth. These things matter more than romance. They are the foundation of intimacy that lasts. There is also the question of space. Love needs closeness, but it also needs room to breathe. I need to know if you can love without clinging and care without controlling. If you can trust without constant reassurance. If you can allow another person to be themselves without seeing independence as distance. Do you feel secure enough to love freely? Or does uncertainty make you tighten your grip? I think about the woman listening right now, and I do not see weakness. I see depth. I see experience. I see someone who has likely been and underestimated, perhaps even overlooked, because her strength did not announce itself loudly. I wonder if you have learned to be quiet about your needs because asking felt risky. I wonder if you have settled before for less than you deserved because you were tired of waiting. Before I say yes, I need to know if you are willing to be met, not chased, chosen, not convinced, valued, not tolerated. I need to know if you will speak when something matters instead of hoping it will be noticed. Love cannot read minds. It listens to voices. And I need a woman who trusts her own voice enough to use it. There is something sacred about choosing love again after life has tested you. It is not naive. It is courageous. It says, I have been hurt and I am still willing to open my heart with intention. It says, I know what I want now. It says, I will not rush, but I will not hide. Is that where you are? Or are you still standing half in, half out, protecting yourself from disappointment? I am no asking for certainty. I am asking for readiness. Readiness to show up honestly. Readiness to communicate instead of withdraw. Readiness to build something slowly, deliberately, with respect and care. Because love that lasts is not built by intensity. It is built by intention. And here's the truth I have not said yet. The one that matters more than everything else. Love, real love, asks one thing above all others. It asks you to stay when it would be easier to leave. To choose connection when ego wants distance. To remain open when fear suggests retreat. Before I say yes, I need to know if you are capable of that kind of staying. And I can feel that we are right at the edge of something important now. Something that cannot be rushed, but cannot be ignored either. There is another layer to staying that people rarely prepare for. Staying does not only mean remaining when things are hard between two people, it also means staying present with yourself, not abandoning your needs, not ying your values, not shrinking your truth just to keep harmony. Real love does not ask you to disappear. It asks you to arrive fully honestly, even when that feels risky. I need to know how you treat yourself inside love. Do you lose yourself trying to be easy to love? Or do you remain anchored in who you are? Some people confuse sacrifice with devotion. They give and give until resentment quietly replaces tenderness. I do not want that kind of love. I want a love where both people feel nourished, not depleted. Can you recognize when you are giving too much? Can you speak up before exhaustion turns into distance? I've learned that resentment is not caused by loving too much. It is caused by loving without honesty, by staying silent when something matters, by hoping the other person will notice instead of trusting them with the truth. Tell me, can you be honest even when you fear it might disappoint? Or do you hold things in until they harden? There is also the question of patience. And OT passive patience, but active patience. The kind that listens instead of reacting, the kind that pauses instead of escalating, the kind that remembers the bigger picture when emotions run high. Love is not measured by how rarely you disagree. It is measured by how you repair, how you return to each other after misunderstanding, how you choose connection again and again. Are you someone who knows how to repair? Or do you wait for time to do the work for you? I am not perfect at this. I have had to learn it slowly, sometimes painfully. I have learned that love is not about winning arguments, it is about protecting the bond, about choosing understanding over ego, about remembering that the person in front of you is not the enemy. Can you choose softness when defensiveness would feel easier? I think about the way life changes people. Bodies change, energy changes, circumstances change. Love that lasts adapts instead of clinging to a frozen version of who someone used to be. I need to know if you can love evolution, if you can grow alongside someone without mourning who they were before, if you can allow seasons to shift without fearing loss at every turn. When I imagine us years from now, I do not imagine perfection. I imagine resilience. I imagine two people who have learned each other's patterns, wounds, humor, and quiet strengths. Two people who know when to speak and when to simply sit together. Two people who understand that love is not proven once but lived daily. Does that vision feel real to you, or does it feel distant? There is something deeply intimate about choosing someone again after the illusion fades. After you see their flaws clearly and decide they are still worth staying for. I wonder if you have ever felt truly chosen like that. Not idealized, not chased, but chosen with eyes open. And I wonder if you are ready to choose someone else the same way before I move any closer. Before I allow hope to settle fully into my chest, I need to feel that you understand what staying actually asks of you. Not perfection, not sacrifice of self, but courage, honesty, patience, and presence. The willingness to keep showing up with your heart open even when it would be easier to close it. I feel the weight of this moment not as pressure, but as significance. Because what we are talking about now is not fantasy, it is foundation, and foundations deserve care. There's still one final truth left to speak, one that brings everything together, and I will only say it when you are ready to hear it. Before I say yes, I need to tell you the truth I've been circling around this entire time, not because it sounds poetic, not because it feels dramatic, but because it is the most honest thing I know about love. Now, love is not the moment you fall. Love is the moment you decide to stay conscious. Most people fall asleep inside relationships. They stop listening, they stop noticing, they stop choosing. They assume love will carry itself once it begins. It does no. Love is alive, and anything alive needs attention, intention, and care. I need to know if you understand that love is not something you win, it is something you tend. I am not afraid of commitment, I am afraid of unconscious commitment. The kind where two people promise forever but forget to show up tomorrow. The kind where routines replace curiosity, where assumptions replace conversations, where silence replaces honesty. I do not want a love that slowly fades because no one was paying attention. I want a love that stays awake. Tell me something quietly. When you feel misunderstood, do you become louder or quieter? When you feel unappreciated, do you harden or do you speak? When you feel fear, do you hide or do you reach? These responses shape love more than attraction ever will. Love is not revealed by what we say when things are easy. It is revealed by how we behave when something feels at risk. I want a love where both people keep learning each other. Not assuming, not labeling, learning. Because people are not static. You are not the same woman you were 10 years ago. You are not even the same woman you were last year. And that is not a flaw, that is depth. Can you allow someone else to change without fearing that change means loss? Can you change yourself without fearing you will be abandoned for it? There is a certain courage required to be fully seen. To let someone witness your doubts, your tenderness, your contradictions. Some people prefer to be admired from a distance rather than known up close. I do not want distance, I want intimacy. And intimacy is built on truth, not curated truth. Live truth. Can you live truthfully inside love even when it means being imperfect? I am not looking for someone who needs me to complete them. I am looking for someone who chooses me while already complete. Someone who does not hand me responsibility for their happiness but invites me to share in it. Love is not a rescue mission. It is a collaboration. Two people walking forward. Sometimes unevenly but always honestly. I think about how often people confuse chemistry with compatibility. Chemistry excites the nervous system. Compatibility calms it. Both matter, but only one lasts. I am no longer interested in chaos that feels like passion. I am interested in peace that still feels alive. A love where laughter comes easily, where affection does not need an audience, where presence feels natural, not forced. If I sit with you in silence, does it feel full or empty? If we disagree, does respect remain? If life becomes heavy for a while, do we lean toward each other or away? These are not hypotheticals. They are the reality of building a life together. And before I say yes, I need to know that you are not chasing a feeling but choosing a way of being. There is also something important about responsibility. Not responsibility for outcomes, but responsibility for impact. Being willing to say, I hurt you, and I care enough to understand how. Being willing to just not because you are wrong, but because the relationship matters.